All right, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for coming. Today, I'm going to be talking about the problem of high debt amongst soldiers. So today, a whole lot of service members are living paycheck to paycheck. And one of the big reasons for that is they're carrying a lot of debt, so they're having a lot of payments to maintain that debt every month. Some of the risks associated with high debt are loss of security clearance, which could cost you your position in the military, strained personal relationships, both with your friends and with family members, and just like a general lack of motivation. I mean, when you feel like you can't get anywhere and you're not really getting any money because everything that you get is going to service this debt, a lot of times you're just like, and that's kind of drag, right? So what I want to talk about today is just kind of highlighting some of the dangers of debt, understanding how debt works and how money costs money if you didn't make it already, and then kind of talking about how to reduce your debt. So the big thing that I want to talk about is kind of how once you understand how much it costs to have this money, using that as motivation to not have it anymore, because it gets to the point where it's costing you a large part of the money that you're working for. So the very first thing I want to talk about is kind of the cost of maintaining the debt. So most people would agree that a $15,000 car is kind of average. It's not the most expensive car in the world, but it's nice enough. It's going to get you where you want to go and things like that. So the best way to describe debt is the cost of maintaining the money is based on the interest rate. So if you took that $15,000 car and you paid for it across 4 years, 48 months, which is a pretty average car note loan, and you paid 10% on that, the payment would be 48 equal payments of $380.44. And the same loan at 4% would only cost you $339. So that's nearly $2,000 more across the life of the loan, right, to pay for that. So what causes interest rates to be higher? Some of you guys are younger, and people have told you when you went to buy a car or something, hey, you got to pay this higher interest rate because you don't have any credit, right? And that's something where, if you save more for a down payment, maybe you can be better off with that. But interest rates can be raised for a couple of different reasons. One, they can be raised because of missed payments. So you borrowed money, or you didn't pay your cell phone bill or whatever a couple of times. It shows up on your credit report, changes your score, and so when you go to buy something, they're like, hey, that's going to be extra money, all right? And then another reason is because you've got too much debt, which is really the one that I would say is the biggest threat. It's kind of what I'm talking about today. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but they like to do a thing where they figure out how much money you owe monthly, and then they balance that against how much money you actually make a month. And if that number is above about 35%, then you're going to start paying higher and higher interest rates to borrow because you're at greater risk to not pay the money back. And that's kind of the reason that they do it. Secured debt, and that's debt that's covered by some type of collateral, a car, a house, something like that, is generally less expensive. Car loans and home mortgages are secured. Credit cards are not secured, so that's something to be aware of. All right, moving on to professional ramifications. Okay, so the cost of maintaining high debt is sometimes it's not just about money. So we're in the military, and in our particular job, if you want to advance, you need to have a security clearance. Been quite a few articles in the news of late since the real estate bubble burst, and we've continued to have this recession go on, and it's gotten longer and longer, about the number of people who are running up against the security clearance thing because they're unable to pay all their bills, and they're coming up for their periodic reviews, and their credit reports are saying, hey, these guys have got a problem, raising red flags. And so the reason that that's a big deal to the military is when somebody owes a lot of money and they're feeling stress from that particular thing, they might be motivated or inclined to give up secrets to somebody that wants to know, for enough money so that they can pay their bills this month or get something for their kids that their kids want or whatever. So security clearance revocation, which is what we're talking about, could cause you to be reclassed. So Doc, I'm pretty sure you've got to have a secret clearance based on the fact that you could treat anybody and come across all kinds of wazoo information. If you lose your security clearance, they could say, hey, either one, you're getting out of the Army, or two, you're going to become an infantryman tomorrow. And I mean, most people are like, all right, I'm happy with my job, I want to stay in that job. So it's something to be concerned about. Government debts can cause you to be flagged or a bar to re-enlistment placed on your record. So Mac, you're coming up on, once you get promoted, you're coming up on an indefinite re-enlistment, right? So say for whatever reason, 2 or 3 different times we got something from a star card saying, yeah, he's not paying his bills. The commander has the right to bar you to re-enlist, and now your 10+ years of service would be forfeit at the end of your current enlistment. And so that's another reason why it's important to kind of pay for that kind of stuff. Talking about types of government debt, fines from tickets and stuff on post can be a type of government debt, and then military star. So here's some ways to either work through debt or to avoid problems in the first place. One is a budget. Budgeting is this big, ugly thing like, oh, I can't do this. Well, Dave Ramsey says that if you're not planning, if you're not telling your money where to go, your money's going to go on its own. And so the idea behind that is when you set out a budget, you say before you ever get your money, before the month ever starts, I'm going to pay this bill, I'm going to pay this bill, I'm going to pay this bill, I'm going to pay this bill. I'm going to allow myself to have a little bit of money to spend because I don't want to be this prudish guy that just like hates life because I'm always broke, right? But it's a plan. And so one of the ways that it helps is it lets you know where your money's going to go. And then two, it lets you know how much money you have that you can spend, so that you're not worried about, blowing your budget. So you're not worried about having to use credit to do some stuff. And then the other thing that it does is it helps, like everybody knows that Christmas happens on the 25th of December every year. It's never changed, not in 2,000 years, pretty much. Although some people would argue about that, but whatever. So with that, what you can do with a budget is you can say, okay, it's January, and I know I want to get my folks something nice for Christmas, so I'm going to start putting back, say $125 a month, and at the end of that time, I'm going to have $1,500 in the bank, and I can buy my folks something nice. I can buy a plane ticket to take my folks the thing that I bought them that was nice, and they'll be happy to see me. And at no point is that ever stressed out, and you're not like right at December like, oh, I've got to spend my whole check just to get home for Christmas, because that kind of sucks, right? Another thing is like with cars, when you got a car, you've got oil changes that have to happen every 3 months, even if you don't drive that much. You've got very expensive tires if you've got a fancy Jeep and a lift and everything, right? There's this maintenance that comes up that you've got to deal with, and you know it's going to come. It's not a surprise. So budgeting will let you put that money away. Same deal as Christmas. And then when it comes up and you got to buy those new tires, like, hey, no big deal, it's $3,000 worth of tires because I got it in the bank over here. Groovy. So that's the benefits of a budget. And so when you do that, you don't have to worry about trying to use a credit card, because if I don't get new tires, my tires are bald, they've already blown out once or twice, and I'm sucking here. So how do we pay off debt? If you haven't had that budget and you haven't had the debt, then one of the things that you can do, Dave Ramsey's got a thing called the debt snowball. And a lot of people think about debt, they're like, okay, what money costs me the most? Because that's what I talked about first, right? So they say, okay, this money is really expensive, so I'm going to pay it off first. Dave Ramsey says, no, pay off the smallest debt first. And then keep taking all that money and letting it snowball and making bigger and bigger payments until at the end you've paid off all your debt completely. You need to understand how much extra money you have and apply that to that smaller debt. You need to understand how much money you actually owe. And all that stuff's going to be helped in budgeting. So here's the deal. In conclusion, a lot of people, when they look at the debt, they're like, man, that's a lot of money. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm going to do. And that freaks them out, and they stop trying. So the risk associated with that is that you're going to lose your job, or you're going to lose the security clearance that you need to do your job. Lots of soldiers have been where you are. Work through it, deal with it, pay it off, and you'll be good. Thank you for your time today.